It turns out that Musk has become very increasingly worried about the development of advanced AI. And he actually considers it probable that we develop some type of super intelligent AI that could pose an existential risk to humanity if it's not properly shepherded into existence. Now, according to this article, much of his discontent with the state of AI seems to have come from some rocky relationships with Google over its acquisition of DeepMind and some displeasure he has with OpenAI, which he co founded. And he's unhappy that they've pivoted away from being a nonprofit lab to start that was supposed to be releasing AI advancements for everyone to use and build upon, a future that has not come to pass. So Isaacson goes deep on how Musk has spent years now developing dedicated AI capabilities across all of his companies, and that includes Neuralink, Tesla, and SpaceX. He's also now actively considering how do you use Twitter's data to actually fuel AI systems. Very recently, he announced founding an overarching AI company to tie together all these AI efforts. It's called XAI. And he actually tapped a former DeepMind employee, Igor Babushkin, to join the company. So his goal here is to essentially assure that AI develops in a way that benefits humanity and also guarantees that super intelligent AI doesn't cause this existential risk to our species at large, which he seems to believe is a possible risk or danger moving forward. So there's a lot here to unpack, Paul. I want you to maybe start off by contextualizing this for the audience. If you don't follow Elon Musk as much as I would say we do, or you're only following Elon Musk recently, he's known for making some pretty big public statements, some big PR efforts, controversial statements about big topics. How serious is he about this?
This is such a fascinating article. If you're, like you're saying, like if you have followed AI closely over the last decade plus, a lot of this isn't new information. But realistically, for most of our listeners, this article would just be mind numbing. Like it is really, there's a lot to unpack and probably about a 2,000 word article. So I'm anxious for the book. I have it on pre-order. I'm waiting for it to arrive, as well as Coming Wave from Mustafa. And I have like 5 AI books lining up right now. Um, okay, so let's try to unpack this best I can. And I do think that this is a really important topic. That the history of AI, especially going back to 2011, is so essential to understand what is going on right now and all of the different key players. So we're going to, mention some different names in here, we'll mention some different companies, but again, I really think it helps to understand why we're in the moment we're in business and in society if we understand the interrelations between all these different companies and AI players. So let's start to unpack this. So I started studying AI around summer 2011, right after I finished the manuscript for my first book, which is basically around the same time that this article starts. So they start with the story of Elon Musk meeting Demis Hassabis, who had created DeepMind, and at the time was trying to raise money for DeepMind. DeepMind eventually sells to Google. We'll get to that in a minute. So they meet in 2012, hit it off. Hassabis comes to the SpaceX facility. So keep in mind, again, Elon Musk started SpaceX in the early 2000s before he got involved with Tesla. So he convinces Musk during that tour that AI is an existential threat to humanity. And Musk starts becoming extremely concerned and decides on the spot to put $5 million into DeepMind so he can stay close to AI and this threat to humanity. Simultaneously, Musk is good friends with Larry Page, one of the co-founders of Google. Used to sleep on his couch when he would stay at Silicon Valley. So Musk and Page, good friends. Musk brings up his concerns around AI, knowing that Google, from its founding, has been building AI, and expresses to Page his concerns around this. Page dismisses him, calls him speciesist, meaning you're for humans. Like the machine should be allowed to do what they do and develop their intelligence, and you should basically leave them alone. So Musk becomes extremely concerned about Larry Page's lack of interest in the threat of AI. So when DeepMind sells to Google, then in January 2014, Musk becomes even more concerned. And in fact, he tried a last minute effort to stop Demis from selling to Google and tried to buy DeepMind himself. And Demis chose to sell to Google anyway. There's an amazing story about that in Genius Makers by Cade Metz, a book we've talked about many times on the show. If this is fascinating to you, go read Genius Makers. It tells the story of how Demis sold DeepMind and why and all that stuff. So then fast forward, DeepMind sells, Musk becomes more concerned. So he turns to Sam Altman, who's running Y Combinator at the time. And they start through a series of dinners, decide, let's create OpenAI, which Musk supposedly came up with the name for, and let's make the most advanced AI in the world available to everyone so that Google and Microsoft and these select few companies don't control it. They go recruit Ilya Sutskever from Google. Ilya had in 2011, 2012, created a company with Jeff Hinton, who we've talked about before, who recently left Google. Ilya is one of the top AI researchers in the world, was involved in a major breakthrough in computer vision, which sort of set us on this deep learning path we're on today. And then they also recruit Greg Brockman, who is the CTO at Stripe at the time. So Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, Ilya Sutskever, Elon Musk start OpenAI. In the article, it says, as they're kind of going through this formation, one question they discussed at dinner was what would be safer, a small number of AI systems that were controlled by big corporations or a large number of independent systems. So this is very, very critical to understand why we're having this battle today between proprietary closed models and open models. We went on to say, OpenAI, this founding team, concluded that a large number of competing systems providing checks and balances on one another was better. For Musk, this was the reason to make OpenAI truly open so that lots of people could build systems based on its source code. So this becomes the friction point. Fast forward now a few years. So 2018, Musk and Altman disagree on the future of OpenAI. Musk proposes folding OpenAI into Tesla. Altman disagrees, and that creates a friction point. So it says in here, Musk's determination to develop artificial intelligence capabilities of his own companies caused a break with OpenAI in 2018. He tried to convince Altman that OpenAI should be folded into Tesla. The OpenAI team rejected that idea, and Altman stepped in as president of the lab, starting a for-profit arm that was able to raise equity funding, including a major investment from Microsoft. So Musk exits OpenAI, leaves the board, takes his, whatever I don't know how much he claims he put in, 100 million or whatever he's put into OpenAI. So he leaves and decides to chart his own path. So now we have OpenAI for-profit arm that can now go raise money and build GPT, and Musk splits off and goes his way. So it says Musk decided to forge ahead with building rival AI teams to work on an array of related projects, including Neuralink, which implants microchips into human brains, Optimus, which is their human-like robot, and Dojo, which we're going to be hearing a lot about in the fall. As a matter of fact, as of this morning, pre-market, Tesla's shares were up over 6%, in large part because Morgan Stanley sees Dojo as a major driver of enterprise value moving forward. So again, all of this is connected. All of it is driving all these different elements right now. And then he also started obviously focusing on Tesla and self-driving cars. It says he was resentful. Now, keep in mind, when I'm saying this, he is the source for this article. So this is coming from his personal interviews with Walter Isaacson, writing this biography. So when I'm giving these quotes, this is coming from Elon, basically, to Walter. He was resentful that he had founded and funded OpenAI, but was now left out of the fray. AI was the biggest storm brewing, and there was no one more attracted to that storm than Musk. So this kind of leads us to the conclusion here of what is his view moving forward and what are his motivations? And what does that mean to you and your company and society? So we'll kind of wrap here with my thoughts, Mike. So in the article, it says, what can be done to make AI safe? Musk asked. So he called Isaacson to this meeting at his house, and he's like, we have to leave our phones in the house so no one can spy on us, basically. So they walk out and they have this private conversation, which Musk eventually agrees to allow Isaacson to publish. So he says to Isaacson, what can be done to make AI safe? I keep wrestling with that. What actions can we take to minimize AI danger? and this is the one that, like, if you're new to this, this is the where it starts getting sci-fi. Minimize AI danger and assure that human consciousness survives. This is why he wants to build a colony on Mars. That's why SpaceX exists, to continue human consciousness in the event that it ceases to exist on Earth. Okay. So then he noticed the amount of human intelligence was leveling off because people were not having enough children. Again, you hear all these stories about Elon Musk having lots of kids. It's because he believes population is collapsing, that we're not having enough babies as a society. So he is doing his part to make as many babies as possible. This is no joke. This is like legitimately why he's doing this. So meanwhile, the amount of computer intelligence is going up exponentially, like Moore's law on steroids. At some point, biological brain power will be dwarfed by digital brain power, meaning the AIs are just going to get way smarter than the collective human consciousness. In addition, these systems will be able to learn and develop their own code, and we're approaching this singularity, the moment where AI becomes superhuman at all cognitive tasks. And Musk says this could happen sooner than expected. So in April, again, kind of driving to the end here, he assigns a team led by, what was the guy's name that took over the XAI?
His name is Igor
Let's
Babushkin.
Okay, that was I didn't know that name. So this is a guy from DeepMind. Okay, so in April, he assigns Igor and the team 3 goals. The first is to make an AI bot that could write computer code, which we already have. Llama 2, we know, can write code. We know GPT-4 can write code. So this isn't new. He's trying to compete here. The second is a chatbot competitor to OpenAI's GPT series that uses algorithms and trained data sets to ensure political neutrality. This is the Elon Musk version of this. This is what we're seeing with Twitter and X. And the third, and most important, is he gave the team an even grander overriding mission, which is to ensure AI developed in a way that helped guarantee that human consciousness endures. That would be best achieved, he thought, by creating a form of artificial general intelligence, or AGI, that could reason and think and pursue truth as its guiding principles. You could give it a task like build a better rocket and it could do it. So this is his play. This is everything he's doing. So what does this mean to us? Why should all of us care about this? The reason is because they're all focused on building next generation large language models and AGI. And to do that, it's all about the data. So what does Musk have that the other people don't have? So they address this in the article. It says the fuel for AI is data. The new chatbots being trained on massive amounts of information, such as billions of pages of the internet and other documents. Google and Microsoft have these. Like, that's what they have over Musk. But what can Musk do that's different? One, he now owns Twitter. So it includes more than 1 trillion tweets posted over the years and 500 million added each day, what he considers humanity's hive mind. It's the world's most timely data set of real life conversations, news, interest, trends, arguments, and lingo. So it becomes a massive training ground for chatbots. The other thing he has, and this is the part that I've always said is overlooked, that people think of Tesla as a car company. That is not what Tesla is. Tesla is a data company. They have 160 billion frames per day of video that are received and processed from the cameras on the Tesla cars. Once they start moving, like there's word now that they're working on a $25,000 version of a Tesla and robo taxis. That would be cars you could just order and they'll come pick you up, fully autonomous. Once they have 10 million plus cars on the road, which is what they're working toward, they have probably 1 trillion frames of video per day to train AI on a total worldview, everything happening around them. So to conclude here, think about this. What we're going to see in the next 12 months, we're going to see some early forms of whatever XAI is, whatever these models are that they're working on from this dojo model. So we're going to see that. There is increasing word that Apple is working on something called Ajax, which will include their own GPT, their own language model within Apple, but also multimodal, trained on all kinds of things, including Siri data and everything on your iPhone. We know that Google DeepMind is working on Gemini. The rumor is that will come out this fall and be more advanced than GPT-4. We know OpenAI is doing something. They're not going to sit still. GPT 4.5, GPT 5, like we don't know, but something will come. We do know they have a developer conference November 6th. So that's a date to mark. We know Inflection is working on something. We're going to talk about Mustafa Solomon and Inflection in a moment. And the latest rumors that Meta is building a GPT-4 competitor, likely multimodal. What does Meta have that nobody else has? They have Facebook, they have Instagram, they have WhatsApp, they have Oculus. So again, when we think about the future and you're trying to figure out what does your career look like, what does your business look like, what does your industry look like, this is why we say it's almost impossible to solve for that. Like it is like no one has a clue what's going to happen because just the variables of this story are so significant and the implications of what it means and what people are going to build, it's so hard to envision that. And so that to me is at the end why this story leads off today and why it's so relevant is the history of all of this matters. The interrelationships between all these key players in AI matter because they're all affecting the decisions that are going to be made that are going to drive the future of technology and business and society and education. And all we know to be true is the rate of change is accelerating. And every signal we see means it shows it's going to keep getting faster.